Hello everyone, Professor Kagan here, and it's been quite some time since I've made a video like this. That's really because not much has happened in the gaming world. Nothing that is really humongous. This is potentially humongous. This is very interesting. So over the past few days, and really since the beginning of the year, for some of these rumors, we've been getting information that certain Xbox exclusive titles will be making their way to competing platforms. On PS5 and Nintendo Switch in particular, games like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves have been specifically named for these systems, and in recent days we have been hearing that Gears of War is being considered for PlayStation 5, that Starfield will release on PlayStation 5, and that they're also considering releasing the new Indiana Jones game on PlayStation 5. And just today, at the time of recording, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, you all know who he is, came on Twitter to acknowledge the situation in your typical vague corporate way. We hear you. We'll have more to say later on, and he did confirm that they were going to have a sort of press event next week. And I'm seeing a lot of overreacting in the gaming community. I've seen people compare this to Sega and the Dreamcast, like, oh, they're going third party, it's all over, Xbox is dead. No, that's not what's going on here at all. It's a very different time with very different technology and very different sensibilities in the gaming industry. Sega's departure from the console market was due in part to a series of bad decisions with their hardware and their marketing of the hardware, particularly around the launch of the Saturn, when they had just released various Genesis add-ons. They had done a lot to lose confidence from the consumer, especially when newcomer Sony Interactive Entertainment with the PlayStation 1 came in with 64-bit gaming and were seemingly blowing the doors off of everybody at the time. So when Dreamcast finally came out, and it wasn't selling, and when you have mistake after mistake after mistake, of course you need to reevaluate your priorities. And it was best that Sega start putting their titles on other systems. So, what are the circumstances here? What makes Microsoft different? Over the last decade, it has become increasingly difficult to sell consoles solely based on hardware. The actual amount of power that these systems are putting out are diminishing, and it's harder and harder and harder to make these big, massive AAA experiences that run decent on these machines. Even the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, not every game on those systems run at 4K 60 FPS or higher. A lot of them come with certain performance settings. It's no longer possible to make these massive generational leaps. And if you want to make money in the gaming industry nowadays, you're gonna have to do something that was somewhat frowned upon before. You're gonna have to either do this thing that's frowned upon, which is change your hardware and add something to it that most consoles don't have. A good example of this would be Nintendo Switch. It's a portable console. It plays you know, full console games on the go. It doesn't have this fractured library like a PSP or a DS would have, where there's games for it and then there's games for your console. It's just one machine, you take it on the go. Devices like this are becoming extremely popular. Not only the Switch, but devices like the Steam Deck, other little smaller devices like the ROG Ally. People are really starting to see the merit in a device like that. And they didn't in the past. A good example of that, unfortunately, is the PlayStation Vita, because in concept, it's very similar to Switch. It couldn't be docked to the TV. They did release a variant that could connect to TV and was TV only, but nowadays, sort of differentiating your hardware in that respect is more feasible than these multi-generation power leaps. Not to mention the fact that games are costing so much money to develop now, hundreds of millions of dollars. One of the most costly pieces of media to ever be made was Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, these games aren't getting any smaller and they're not getting any cheaper, and Microsoft needs a way to recuperate that cost, especially since they have so many studios now. Blizzard, Activision, all the other studios they had under Xbox Publishing. They need to recuperate that money that these games are costing to make, because they now put out a Call of Duty every year. They're putting out massive games like Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, and Game Pass can only do so much when it's just on phones, PC, and Xbox. So I know that in the past, Microsoft has tried to get Game Pass on other systems. PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch, and it hasn't seemed to work for them. So this is the next best option, to publish and release first-party titles on other systems to make money. You're broadening your horizons, and you are able to draw in a much bigger audience. Now, of course, you could release a game on the Xbox ecosystem, keep it exclusive for a while, and then bring it to PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch. There are ways to keep the Xbox hardware in focus and portray it as a meaningful option in the consumer space. I don't think it's just the absolute death of the Xbox console. And really, Microsoft has talked about this sort of thing for years at this point, going so far as to say, if there is a screen, we want you to be able to play our games on it. Now, it seems to me that how they wanted to go about doing that is being changed up. And the hardware is taking somewhat of a back seat. It's not going away, but it's taking a back seat to allow Microsoft to focus on publishing these titles and raking in some money that they very much need after they've spent all this money acquiring studios. I think it's a bit of an overreaction that everybody is having. It's not the death of Xbox. It's not like Sega and the Dreamcast. You know, I don't get the hype. I don't get the panic. I don't see the Xbox consoles going anywhere. I think they will be just another valid option that you can use. So let me know what you think. Do you think it's possible that we will get Xbox games on other systems? Does that ever occur to you? Do you think that is feasible? Do you enjoy that this is happening? Do you not enjoy that this is happening? It's a very interesting time in gaming, and this is the sort of interesting things I like to talk about. And I'm hoping we see more. I want to see more shakeups in the industry like this because I want that entertainment. It makes for a good conversation. And I want to hear what you have to say about it. And with all that said, I'm Professor Kagan, Professor Inigo only. You all take care.